And this hangout is live on air. Yes, it is indeed, ladies and gentlemen. G'day, g'day, g'day. That's Australian for how are you? I'm down under along with Paul Weeks in Australia, Queensland. In fact, it's nice and hot outside. Maybe you can see the sunshine beaming in. We're live on YouTube now, so people can say hello if they want to. And it's about 3 o'clock in the afternoon for me. We've got our presidential ambassador, our number one lady in the company, Claudia, Eifert. And Claudia, it's a very, very happy hello to you, but it's midnight for you, isn't it? Is it midnight where you are?
It's midnight, yes.
And you've just come in from the beach or swimming or doing whatever you do in Panama, which is nothing except soak up the relaxation. Oh, and you talk to about 1,000 people a week as well about the business.
At minimum, I can tell you that. And I had a wonderful servant waiter today waiting on me on the beach, who happens to be one of our affiliates from UK.
Oh, is that right? Yeah. Oh, cool. And he was a waiter.
No, he was just doing the waiting job for us girls.
Oh, right. Okay. Fantastic. Well, that's I guess, yes, those English lads, they put a bit of time and effort into the business, help the affiliates out. Very, very good. Fantastic. Well, thank you for joining us at midnight. That's sensational. And obviously, long day for you. So we try not to go too long today. We've got a couple of important issues to get across. Paul Weeks on the Gold Coast. That sun is streaming in the window there. So she's bright as anything where you are, mate. How's things for you?
Yeah, it's pretty good down here, Keithy. Nice middle of March, middle of autumn, and it's around about 29 degrees. I dragged myself away from the pool to come and have a little talk about the Swiss Gold Global adventure. Yeah.
Drag yourself away from the pool. That's a very good statement, you know, when that's where we all want to get to, except the next guy, unfortunately, he doesn't get time to spend hours upon hours lounging by the pool. He's always in the air somewhere or talking to someone about the business. That's our owner, Bill Rowell. And you're in Dubai. You've left Panama and you're off again. You're off somewhere again, Bill. And it's fantastic, as always, to have you on, mate. I think I'm not quite sure. It's a morning time for you. It's what, 9 o'clock in the morning for you? How's things with you?
Richard. Yeah, hi, Keithy. Hi, Claudia. Good morning. Good afternoon to you, Paul. No, all good. I'm here in Dubai. I arrived in yesterday or last night after a 16-hour direct flight from LA. All good. Busy day ahead of me. The sun's rising here, so it's going to be a good day.
Fantastic, mate. Very, very good. Now we've got a couple of people watching live. We've got Connie from the Netherlands, from Holland there, and Doug, Queensland. He's up in up Toowoomba way up the hill there. So there's a number of people watching. So hello to all of you. Make sure you share this link on your timeline so other people can join in now. With obviously the hot topic is that the 15th of March has passed, and that's the date that all the contracts were supposed to go live, and the payouts start on the 16th. Well, that was delayed a little bit, I believe, from the update we got from Genesis through Claudia, that was awesome. And I can say from my point of view that on the 17, 18 and 19, I've been paid for my Bitcoin contracts that I have from Genesis through Swiss Gold Global. They've come through to my wallet here in Australia without any dramas. The only thing is I'm not getting as much as I hoped I would. And there's a lot of people saying, oh, my God, what's happened? What's happened? I'm not getting paid as much as I thought I would do. And I guess people casting their mind back to when they perhaps were getting some payments late last year when the price of Bitcoin was up pretty high. It hit obviously 20,000 US. And then since then, it's made a bit of a slide downwards. But there's been a force that people, I guess, don't understand. That's what I want to tap into Claudia first and maybe Bill straight after that, is that what is the difference of back then 3-4 months ago? We're in middle of March now, nearly the end of March. Say November, December, when we were receiving good rewards for our live contracts. The ones obviously we're buying lots of pre-sale ones in anticipation that the same thing would happen when it hit February 28th or 15th of March. Now that realization has happened, everything is live, and we actually can still buy contracts. I'll just double check that on our website here. I'll just go buy hash power, increase hash power. And there you go. We've got Bitcoin contracts for sale, and yep, 35.80 and no date. So they'll go live immediately, and you can buy e-wallet, bank wire, credit card of Bitcoin. So everything is live for us. We don't have anything else. Neither does Genesis. Genesis Mining don't have anything for available on their website. From my point of view, when I started 10 months ago, I'm coming up to 10 months, about 300 days, 95, 96, 97. It's 298 days today. So on Wednesday, it'll be 10 months for me, so not even a year. I was getting about 12 or 13 cents per contract when I started 10 months ago. And then price of Bitcoin went up and the difficulty rate stayed sort of in balance. How can I do this way? Yeah. The price went up, the difficulty rate stayed like that. So I was getting a lot more per contract. And when I say per contract, a lot of people measure it in 1 terahash, which is 5 individual singular contracts of $30. There were now the $35.80, 0.2 terahash. So I was getting around about, for one single contract, getting around about the 12 cents Australian, but then that went up to 15, 20, 25, 30, and it climbed really, really well. And at some stage, I think we got it to about 45 cents per contract. Happy, happy days. Everyone was just over the moon and jumping in. And then things changed, as it does on the internet in a flash. Price started coming down. All the big players came in. They sold. The futures exchange, Bitcoin exchange, started up. They started trading big amounts. The price went down a bit. Difficulty rate then started to climb, and people didn't understand that. And the two have sort of come back together again. And we're almost back, or probably a little bit less than when I started 10 months ago, as far as return per day on the reward for my contract. So could you give us Claudia, a brief understanding, if you can, of this difficulty rate and price of Bitcoin, and what your thoughts are going ahead in the next couple of months? Because we can't control it at all. So what do you think is the answer, or what do people have to understand that they don't understand? Go ahead.
Sure. What people understand, which they don't understand, is actually that when we started, like, this was like end 2016. Actually, I'm just looking at right now, for 15 terahash, you would actually get paid roughly. What do you get paid right now? You would get paid roughly like $8 around that. Basically, it's very close to what when we started right now. Just that in 2016, when the Bitcoin price obviously was at what, at 1,200, 1,100, 1,200. That's where we are right now, sort of, with, of course, a Bitcoin price way higher, but a difficulty rate which has increased so much. Of course, what we had seen last year in September, October, November, December, Bitcoin price, of course, was like going crazy up, also in conjunction with the difficulty rate. But what we have seen, of course, in January, February, March, is that Bitcoin price went down and difficulty rate went up. So usually when difficulty rate goes up and Bitcoin price got up, we don't feel it so much, so in our payouts. But of course now we have seen the Bitcoin price went down and difficulty rate went up, meaning difficulty rate which changes, of course, every block, which is, of course, every 10 minutes, there's a little bit of a difficulty increase. Then you have every 12 days, roughly, where another difficulty increase is. And then you have, of course, the famous halving of the Bitcoin, which is happening every 4 years. Every 4 years, there's only, of course, half of the Bitcoin produced. Currently, that's 1,800, which is produced per day. And of course, they are shared between all the pools, between all the miners. So the pool, who's of course mining most of the Bitcoin, well, they get the biggest share. So what means for us is basically what people don't calculate, and I really need to do a screen share, I think, to calculate. That's probably the best, so they get to understand, Kitty. 1 terahash. If you have 1 terahash, and I know you calculated in the 0.2 in the contract, $35.80, but let me just put in 1 terahash, you pay 28 cents maintenance fee. That hasn't changed. That actually has gotten down since we started from 34 cents to 28 cents for the maintenance fee per day. But so people go to their calculators and they calculate their result and they look at the dollar terms, but they forget to take off the 28 cents per terahash. So what they need to do is they need to go and they need to take, okay, so how many terahash do I actually have? How much mining power do I have? Or how much gigahash? How much do I have? And then you've got to multiply that by 28 cents. And then you arrive, of course, at a number. And then you need to take this off from the amount the calculator gives you. Because this is the fee you pay daily. And then, of course, you then change it and translate it to Bitcoin. So that US dollar to Bitcoin, basically what you have taken off. And this is where you arrive at the amount. People just don't do that. They just put it into the calculator and think, okay, this is my result. But they don't really take this 28 maintenance fee off. So where do I see it? I see... well, I'm bullish on Bitcoin. What can I say? I see I'm buying more. And because I believe in the project, I believe again, as I said, maybe I'm a little bit tired now. Otherwise, I would have more fire in my belly. But again, you got to read that white paper of Bitcoin. Why are you here? Why are you in this business? Are you going in for the quick buck? Then you're probably not at the right place. And I'm sorry if I say that, but and we have so many people going in there and they're so greedy and they just want to get the next thing. You know what? I'm about purpose. I'm about, in Swissquote Global, about purpose, gold, silver, and of course, cryptocurrency, really helping people understanding the monetary system they live under. It's enslaving them. So either they do something about it, well, or stop moaning, basically. This is going to take time. Bitcoin right now has lots of forces against it, lots of regulation, lots of things, lots of volatility and so on. So what? This is not going to go away. I don't believe it's going to go away. I'm a big believer on Bitcoin. But if this is too risky for you, well, then don't even get into it. You got to understand that, yes, you could lose. But this is where it really becomes the understanding. Do you want to be part of a freedom movement? Do you really want to be part of that, in that really first move, or how you say, this first mover's advantage? We are like in something like in the beginning of internet. So imagine you would be able to start a business that's just in the beginning of internet, just when really 20 years ago it started. And look at now. Look at how many how big businesses who started then evolved till now. So Bitcoin is in this phase, which is still very early stages. And if you really read that white paper, you understand this is more than just a currency. This is really more than that. So I'm a big believer on Bitcoin. I love it. I think it's going to grow. I think we're going to make a lot of money. I believe that. But again, disclaimer here. I believe that. And I'm not scared about the dips right now. Yes, we're not making that money as we would make like just 3 months ago. But so what? In a few months, when Bitcoin is up again and your returns are up again, you're going to thank me, of course. So that's my opinion, Kitty. I'm not afraid. Just people need to understand how to calculate it. And unfortunately, often they don't watch the Hangouts. They don't watch the webinars. They don't listen. They don't read either, because the greed just takes over, and that's it. And they don't inform themselves.
Spot on there. I think it's a lot of people are inexperienced as well in this industry. They've just come in the last 6 or 7 or 8 months, and they see people succeeding big time, and I think I can be that next person without treating this as a business. And a lot of people coming in that I deal with are in the 30 to 60 age group who have expectations of getting something happening quicker. Paul, before I go to Bill, on the Gold Coast, now you deal with a similar age group that I do. What's the expectations of the people that you're dealing with? Are they calm and relaxed, or some of them say, if I'm going to put $2,000 and buy so many contracts, I want this much return and that's it? What do your folks say?
Kitty, 1 second. Let me interrupt first of all before I go to Paul. Sorry to say that, but here on a Hangout, but you are young. What do you have about being old all the time? I mean, come on.
Yeah, but when I say old, I mean older. I don't mean old over the hill and down the path.
You are a young guy. Come on.
I'll be 60 like Bill in a few months' time. So that I know it's a number, but old has many connotations. It doesn't mean wheelchair old, Claudia. Thanks very much. Old is I'm older than you, Claudia. I'm older than just the most of my team, which means a couple of things. I have experience of life, which is valuable to me in my calmness when I approach things. I have experience in multiple different types of businesses, from online to peer-to-peer to sales to organic to door-to-door to commission only to big corporate structure to tiny little venues on a side. So old meaning experience, or wiser perhaps. Perhaps I should say I'm wiser than everybody, but that's a tangible thing as well. So let's stick with old and go with it. But thanks for the vote of confidence, Claudia. Before we got interrupted by that young person, Paul, what's happening with the people you're dealing with, mate?
Well, that's why us old people come on at 3 o'clock and the youngins come on at midnight. It's the people I deal with. They're just in it for generational wealth. It doesn't really bother them all that much that Bitcoin is where it is today, or how much the difficulty rate is. They're getting paid better than bank interests, and to my people, that is really what it's all about. And you talk to young people out there, they don't even understand what bank interest is these days. They're too busy working. But there are some that are out there that see that they've got to look after themselves in the future, because the government is not going to be looking after them with the pension that we currently get today. So I guess that's the message we've got to get through to the younger generation.
Absolutely, mate. Well spoken, like a mature person. That's it. You're right about those young people staying up till midnight. All this kerfuffle going on, Bill. Just needs a calm head and a relaxed attitude towards a new technology. You keep repeating it, same as Claudia does. It's disruptive. It's brand new. It's volatile up and down. Things can change. And Claudia pointed up, it's a very, very important point. There are outside influences trying to influence this new technology in this industry. Whether they'll succeed or have some minor influence or not is, something that we will know as we go along. Your thoughts on the last couple of weeks? I know all contracts are live now, but the difficulty rate has just kicked up a little bit, and the price is hovering. People are taking their profits.
Thanks. I mean, they're all good comments. I mean, I understand where people are. You put your hard-earned money in, and you come in and you have an expectation of a return. And a lot of this is a myth too. Of course, you may have come in for the wrong reasons in one sense. I mean, we all want to have a return. This doesn't affect. It affects all of us, of course. I mean, I would prefer a greater return than a lesser return. I think everyone on this call would be in the same way. But I also have an understanding that there's, that there is risk associated with it. I know what I was buying at the beginning. I think this is really important. Each of us have to accept responsibility for where we are. We have to know where we are. We have to know what we're buying. There's no point in playing victim after the event. Keithy told me to buy this because it was going to go up 100% or 200% in 3 weeks' time. I mean, we all hear this stuff. Our greed emotions love to hear this, and many people make decisions based on their greed emotion. The reality is, it's not going to actually happen. It's going to be up and down. if you go back to the .com times, you know, and I know Keithy and certainly Paul can remember this, the .com, the NASDAQ times of the 1990s, of course, you know, most of the companies, they were highly valued and it was very volatile in one sense. But today they're the wealthiest. Some of them are the wealthiest companies in the world. I mean, you look at Amazon, of course. You know, I think the share price that's now around $1,600 a share or something. But most of those companies were cleaned out after the .com boom and bubble. There'll be a clean out in our industry as well, I believe. Although we're not actually a share unit in one sense. We're a cryptocurrency with an underlying utility, a peer-to-peer payment system with an underlying utility called the blockchain. It is new, it is disruptive, and you're coming in just, if you bought a mining contract because you want to double, triple, make 100 times your money in the first year, well, that is totally speculative. I don't think there's one call that I haven't been on that has said don't get involved in this if you can't afford to lose the money. I mean, we have to understand there's risk associated here, and there's many forces at actual play. With that said, Paul mentioned about, you know, bank term deposits. So let's get back to reality here. So tell me, what's the bank term deposit in Australia right now? 3%, 3.2%?
Yeah, 3.5% if you're lucky, Bill.
Okay, so let's just do an example here. Different options of where I put my money right now, you know. So I put my money into a bank term deposit in Australia, which at over 3% is actually for a bank term deposit is high. Compared that to the US or compared that to parts of Europe where it's 1% or less, you know. But even at 3% or 3.5%, if you put $100 in, if you put $5,000 into your bank today, you have to wait 20 years before you double your money. 20 years at 3%. So let's think about this. Here we are on one side. Why don't you put $5,000 in or $100 into cryptocurrency, and we expect to get 100% return in 3 months. And at the same time, the banks are offering you 100% return on your money, which you have to lock in there. And if you take it out beforehand, there's going to be penalties. And it's going to take you 20 years to double your money, to get your money back. So let's think about this. So let's stop playing victim out there. Let's be adults. Let's be responsible for where we are. Let's look at what we buy. I am responsible for pulling the trigger when I buy things in life. I was introduced by Claudia, Paul, or Keithy. They shared the information. It's then up to me to do the due diligence. Use my own IQ between the ears and think about, do I want to get in this or don't I want to be in this? How much am I willing to put into it? What risk is associated with it? Is this company real? Is it fake? Do I need to do further investigation? What is my purpose of being here? And when you make the decision, you're in the game. Accept that decision. There's no point in whinging and complaining and playing victim after the event. I remember I go back to, and I've spoken about Robert Kiyosaki before on previous calls, where I met Robert Kiyosaki from Rich Dad Poor Dad in 1998 at the Sheraton Hotel on the river there, Yarra River in Melbourne, you know. And there's 1,200 people there that night. And he's told his story, blah, 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 about Rich Dad and his poor dad. And the next day he said, I'm going to be at the breakfast table and I'm going to teach people how to take a private company public. And you're welcome to get involved. Other words, he was after other people's money. He wasn't going to, you know. So OPM, we call it, other people's money. So I thought, I'm going to be there. I'm going to learn something. Even if I didn't have the money to invest, I'm going to be there in the morning. I'm going to listen to this guy, see what he has to say. Now, in the end, I invested about $75,000 US with the guy, bought into 2 different companies. But he said, straight up front, it's high risk. Probably going to be 5 years. Don't invest money that you cannot afford to lose. So I got there in the morning. I went to the event with my younger brother, Julian, but I went there in the morning by myself because he had the business to run. And out of 1,200 people, there's 9 of us that showed up. 9 of us. Now, today, one company's completely collapsed and lost their money. On the other side, there's another company, 20 years on. It's more than, yeah, it's 20 years on, actually. My children still own the shares today of that company. So the private company was taken over by a Canadian gold mining company. Very good company. It's solid. So that will be their seed capital. There'll be some seed equity for these guys, young kids, and they'll learn about this as they go forward. But that's a 20-year journey. you know. But Robert Kiyosaki was up front. He said, if you can't afford to be in it, you know, don't come in. But even if I didn't have the money, I would have gone there to listen and learn. Cryptocurrency is disruptive. It's revolutionary. I'm proud of every one of you members that are engaged in this because you're contributing to the revolution. You're contributing to an alternative payment system. That's what Bitcoin is. It's a peer-to-peer payment system, and the miners get rewards for validating the transactions. We as miners, you as miners, are getting part of that reward. Now, one of the reasons why the reward has actually diminished, a number of factors. One, the difficulty rate has increased. Why? Because there's more miners. There's more adoption, which is fantastic. Two, we also have what Keithy mentioned earlier on. We have the CME, the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, and the Chicago Board of Options Exchange in the US, the largest futures and options trading exchange in the world, trading contracts of Bitcoin. They never actually have to technically own a Bitcoin, but they can trade it. They can speculate on price. This is primarily one of the reasons why the price went. I mean, on the 31st of January 2017, Bitcoin was just below $1,000. We're only talking just March now, 2018. It went up just to under $20,000. By, I think it was the end of October last year, it was around $6,000. The news came out about these exchanges going live, and the price rallied up from $6,000 to $20,000. I mean, wow. I mean, who could believe that? Here you are on one side, Paul could put his retirement money into the Commonwealth Bank, very safe, very secure, or the ANZ. He can wait 20 years to maybe just get his money back that he's locked away for that particular period of time. It sounds great. I'm getting 3.5% return on my money, Paul. I'm going to put X amount of dollars in there, and my expectation to double that's going to be 20 years. On the other side, Paul might say, you know what? That's a good thing. It's good to be diversified. I'm going to actually maybe put a part into that. I'm going to put some part into real estate to give me some return. I'm going to put a part into cryptocurrency. And from the time Paul started mining cryptocurrency, when he first started mining, it might have taken him 450 days to break even on his contract. 450 days sounds a lot less than 20 years with a bank rate where we currently are in Australia right now. Then it may, at one particular time, where the market was, maybe he got his full return in his contracts as low as 6 months, because the factors of where Bitcoin was. I mean, last year, up until around about the start of January, the payouts were incredible. I mean, it was fantastic, wasn't it? So many of us did exceptionally well there. Excuse me. The point is that this is a moving thing. There's many factors applying that. We touched on the difficulty rate. The other factor is that we also have the lowest fees for Bitcoin in history right now as well. With Lightning, everyone was complaining about Bitcoin fees. Then we should have Bitcoin Cash because Bitcoin Cash fees for transactions are so much cheaper than Bitcoin. Now they fixed the problem with Bitcoin. With Lightning, the fees for the miners has actually reduced, which means there's less to divide up in the kitty for all the people miners. That's another substantial reason why I believe that we're actually having less payouts as well. The fees are at the lowest in history as well, in one sense. So you have the difficulty rate increase, also the fees are at the lowest ebb for a long time, and this affects all of us, okay? And then, of course, the traders, the options trading, they're just playing it up and down like a yo-yo, and that's what they do. That's how they control the market. But these are the things we have to understand, enough to understand what we're involved in. Yes, it's disappointing. Yes, none of it. We all like to have our return much faster. But when you understand the big picture, you know what? I wouldn't be doing anything else. I'm moving forward as a miner. We're moving forward as a company, as a miner, and other products and services as we speak right now. And I'm sure Genesis Mining are as well. We're going to be challenged. No question about that. We're going to be challenged big time. But I'm in there head on to keep building this and growing this for our members. So my message to the members is, yes, I understand where you are regarding the payouts and different things like that. Accept responsibility for what you bought the contract for. Understand what you bought. Compare it to something. Use something as a benchmark. And as Paul brought up earlier on, a good benchmark, look what you're going to get. The money was in the bank, okay? And as I said, you'd have to wait 20 years to get your money back if you're in the bank. If you put $100 in, on the return you're getting in the bank at 3.5%, it's around 20 years before you got the return on that particular money, in one respect. It's a long time. So it's about balance. It's about understanding. It's about accepting responsibility for where we are. And yes, there is risk associated with it. So let's be very clear about that. Let's not be naive. Let's all be grown-ups there. There is risk associated with what we do. High returns, high risk, a pretty normal thing. If you came here and bought a contract and you're expecting 100% return on your money and you had no understanding that there was any risk associated with it, I think you're missing a few brain cells. I mean, it's pretty common sense that high risk is associated with high returns. So that's really what I wanted to say on that, Keithy.
I think you've covered off some very valid points. Most of us have been in this industry less than 24 months, with Bitcoin starting nearly 9 years ago now, or 10 years actually. The same as, it's quite funny that you started Swiss Gold Global the same year that Bitcoin was introduced late in October in 2008 by our good friend Satoshi. You didn't happen to bump into him on a flight from Dubai to LA at all, did you, Bill? No? Some bloke called
Mate,
Satoshi.
I tell you what, that's one guy I would have liked to sit next to and have a chat with. I wouldn't have got it. but you know what? All things are meant to be where they are. They say the teacher doesn't arrive until the student's ready. Now, I was actually spoken, and people introduced me to Bitcoin many years ago. My mind was closed off to it. But you know what? Excuse me. Claudia, of course, introduced it to me many years ago. She must be hating me for it. She still kicks me every time I see her for it, because I pushed it back because I'm a gold guy, No, everything's meant to be where it is, and I'm in this not just for the money. I'm also in to learn and to contribute to this revolutionary change that's going to happen. There's a big fight going on between the centralized and decentralized systems right now, and it's interesting. I was having breakfast down in the breakfast room this morning, and there's a whole group of university students from Chicago here. And I said to one of the young guys, there's an exhibition. He said, "No, we're coming over here to study some Dubai companies." I said, "That's pretty fantastic that a university from Chicago will come over to Dubai and look at different businesses." And I said, "What's your opinion of Bitcoin?" And he said, this is a young guy, he may be 18, I suppose. He says, "It's interesting. Some of my friends just absolutely love it. Some of them believe it's a bubble, and some of my friends hate it, But he himself appeared to be, I think it's going to be something great for the future. It's very, very early days, and it's going to evolve over years to come. And I tend to agree with him. I mean, the blockchain utility, the peer-to-peer payment system, Bitcoin, on the utility of blockchain is a remarkable concept, and it's going to transform the way we live, just like the internet will. But it's still very early days at this point.
That's very true. If people can understand it, we are at early days, and like you say, when the computer network started with the dot-com boom in the early 90s and all these new companies, it's exactly the same. Now, we've talked at length over the last weeks about Bitcoin, and we get a pretty good understanding. And the mere fact that the transaction fees, to let everyone know about the third part, it's very, very important what you said, Bill. The rate of Bitcoin is down, the difficulty rate is up, and the transaction fees charged to move Bitcoin around that are paid to the miners is down as well. So they're getting less to pay us because of the transaction fees have been lowered. So people are complaining about, it costs me so much money to transfer so much Bitcoin around. Well, those fees have gone down now, which means that's part of the third part of the equation of what we're getting paid has gone down as well. So difficulty rate up, Bitcoin rate down, transaction fees down. That's what the Bitcoin miners get paid on, as the transaction fees every day. So that's a very important thing. So we talked about Bitcoin. Ethereum, we know, like I haven't had an Ethereum payment for over a week now, so I've got to detail my support to get to Swiss Gold Global to go through the Genesis with screenshots that itemize every single one. Pools are getting paid, or some members are getting paid every single day, so that's quite sporadic. But what about the other, just if you can maybe, Claudia, touch on the other ones briefly, Litecoin, Dashcoin, Zcash and Monero. I know you've got everything because you've been in a long time, but a lot of people are asking, Litecoin was going really, really well, now it's sort of dropped off, but what about all the other four coins, performance-wise and contracts-wise for from Genesis, Claudia?
Well, I have the same problem like you. Like, it's just since a few days I'm not getting on the Ethereum. But again, I'm not worried. I just sent in a ticket and I know that Genesis will fix it. And I'm also not like on it. Like some people, they are every day sending an email almost, and you know, like, where's my? But they're not going to fix it in a few days, Genesis. You know, it's going to take time because it's a lot of reporting stuff. So I'm in the same boat there, and it just happens. I mean, it's really, really complicated. Performance-wise, well, I get paid, of course, on all. I have all contracts. I would say probably my Zcash is doing, besides Bitcoin, quite well. My Zcash is doing okay. Of course, those coins also now lost value, which is clear. So that means, of course, that the earnings are down. In the beginning, my Dash was really, really great, but then Dash was just too many people mined Dash, and Dash went just through, so it's not anymore profitable, my Dash. So, but I didn't have so much in Dash myself. I had, but not so much. Yeah, so the most profitable is, of course, Bitcoin, then Zcash. My Monero is mining, so I'm accumulating my Monero. I'm happy with my Monero. I did for a while put my Bitcoins to mine Litecoin. Actually, no, sorry, not to mine Litecoin, to get paid out in Litecoin. But then I changed it back again. So I'm playing around with this a little bit. I'm happy with my Litecoin payouts. Yeah, so I'm getting paid out. I just have the only problem. My one is it's just the Ethereum like anybody else.
So Genesis obviously aren't increasing their computer power in Litecoin at the moment, or Dashcoin. They're just holding off. Are they focused primarily, would you say, on building more Ethereum machines and Bitcoin machines as the main two, and then maybe a little bit more of each of the other ones, Claudia?
I think that Bill has to answer, because I'm too much in Panama now. So I didn't have time to spend so much time with Genesis there. So Bill was down there. I mean, I don't know what he knows there, but like, I need to go back, and I'm looking forward to go back. But you know, it's just too nice here.
All right. As long as you're getting paid, you're happy. All right, Bill. Well, is that something that's happening at the moment? They're just easing back on building the network for those other coins that aren't performing so well?
I wouldn't say so. I think, you know, you gotta remember this market changes very fast. If you go back to last year, July maybe or so, you know, the altcoins were fantastic. They were generating 2 or 3 times the estimated payouts in their first year, and Bitcoin was pretty much a break-even scenario. And then, of course, that actually changed. Now, the demand has been so high there. They've tried to keep up with GPU, which is primarily altcoins, of course, and the ASIC miners, which is Bitcoin. They've expanded their network throughout the world, but there's just so much demand. It's I would say that they're continuing to expand. Still both. I mean, we know that for a fact. I'm hopefully able to meeting them when I'm back in Europe next week. The Genesis team, and yeah, no, it's just a changing environment. That's really it. I mean, this is what creates uncertainty in the market. And of course, when you buy a contract straight away and it goes live straight away, I mean, that's absolutely, you know, the best way to do it, isn't it? You know, people buying a contract and having to wait 12 weeks to go live. It's a bit annoying, but unfortunately, that's just the reality of it. The time to required to build a mining farm is absolutely substantial. This is planned 6 months to 12 months well in advance to achieve that. It's not like you can decide we're going to build a mining farm and the next couple of months we're going to pop one out. It doesn't work that way. We're doing a lot of research as we speak right now regarding this. So we're still going to be moving ahead with this type of development, and I'm very much looking forward to that. That's all I can primarily say there. Coming back to the legal issue of a cease and desist order, which no one's sort of raised on today's call, we still haven't been legally served it, actually. So we know it exists on the social media side. We've dealt with it on our side through our members in the US, and some members have been refunded already. But primarily, we've not been legally served that particular cease and desist order as we speak. So,
are you expecting something in the mail, like a registered letter, as opposed to being served via email? How do they do it nowadays, these government departments?
well, I really don't know unless they're trying to find me, and that's a bit of a hard deal, as I'll never stay still long enough, Keithy. No, but now they'll be serving it on the office in Switzerland, so that's primarily where they'll serve it. So that's fine. We'll deal with it as we have to deal with it.
Yeah, it's maybe coming by carrier pigeon, mate. One of the little notes around his leg. That's why it's taken so long. Now,
hopefully.
We've just got a couple of questions that come in. Connie just pointed out that she's earning more from putting her savings into Swiss Gold Global and buying contracts than if she had just left that same money in the bank. And that's what you went back to, that the return from your bank is going to be 20 years. And Connie's very happy with the way her contracts are performing, which is awesome. There's a person called Hamster. The mining calculator to recommend and use, well, we all sort of go to that third-party one, the Crypto Compare. But also what you may have missed is what we talked about, Hamster, is that the 28 cent per terahash mining fee, maintenance fee. So that's what you maybe got to take out of what you're trying to calculate there. Again, that's what people don't go ahead and do, like Claudia said, is that whatever contracts you've got, the terahash, and then he's got 13.2 terahash. So it's 28 cents times 13.2. Take that out of the equation as well on a daily basis for your maintenance. So maybe that helps you there. Is there any
maintenance fee? And the maintenance fee, Keithy, is the lowest in the world. I have not seen another company that has a lower maintenance fee or who is transparent in showing the mines. They don't show all their mining farms, but transparent in showing the mining farms, transparent on the contract price, but more so, which is most importantly, about the maintenance fee. I mean, I had someone question me the other day. He was a hash flare or something like that. I think he said, "Can you tell Genesis Mining to reduce the prices of the actual contracts?" And I messaged him back and said, "Well, tell me what you're paying on the maintenance fee." I think he said 35 cents per terahash on the maintenance fee. Well, I said, you buy a contract once off, it's a one-time price, but every day, 365 days a year, for the life of that contract, you're going to be charged at 35 cents per terahash. I mean, compound that over the time of a life of a contract versus a contract price in 1 cent. Who's taking the money? I mean, 28 cents is a long way away from 35 cents.
Correct. I think that same person messaged me exactly the same question, Bill. So that might be doing his research. Just message everyone, as many people as you can, the same question. And that does happen, that people just message everyone they can and do a broadcast email out to 1,000 people.
Well, don't message me because I'm busy enough as it is, and so is Keithy and Claudia.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. So if there's, we want to try and keep this short. It's already 45 minutes. I know you're, Claudia. It's now 1:45 in the morning, which is an awesome effort from yourself. Like you say, the most interesting thing is that both yourself and Bill have been involved in right from the start in November 2016. Most of us have been coming from, obviously, in Swiss Gold Global since then. Paul and myself were involved with Bitcoin prior to 2016 with another company and learning. And we're sort of learning as we're going along, learning and earning. And I guess from the mining side, we weren't privy or didn't understand the difficulty rate or the mining side of the business. We were being paid in Bitcoin back then. And we were just focused on the price. And it was only $500 or $600 for one Bitcoin back then. So things have changed dramatically since then. And they will continue to change. And I guess everyone's got to get the message that even though we're going through a bit of a downturn at the moment, life is like a roller coaster. It's a cycle we're going through. As Bill said, there's lots of regulatory things trying to get pressure onto the cryptocurrency world. But there's a lot of people who are putting lots of money into infrastructure, into Bitcoin and to altcoins as well. Genesis Mining being one, Swiss Gold Global and Bill building and putting money in himself, and many other infrastructure companies going ahead to get involved in Bitcoin mining and cryptocurrency mining around the world. So people are just waking up. The little pickaxe behind me is a virtual pickaxe. There's a lot of virtual work to be done. And that means setting up networks, computer networks. And as Bill's mentioned many, many times, the Bitcoin network is just so many times bigger than any national structured business in the world as far as their technology side. Any bank in Australia is dwarfed by the amount of computer power that Bitcoin has worldwide. So we're dealing with the biggest platform on the world, which takes a while to get going. And there's other things trying to influence the growth of that particular business, Bitcoin and cryptocurrency through the blockchain. But more and more people are getting involved and more people are coming on board as we go along. So final note from you, Claudia, you're going to be in Panama for a little while now. Everyone's pretty excited down there about the industry we're in. Is there any other countries down there that are exploding that you know, particularly that not particularly Panama, but is there any other countries that are really going over the top that people should know about that may have friends down there?
Well, sure. I mean, Venezuela, which I talk on every webinar about it. Of course, you know, I meet on a daily basis many miners who have their physical mining farms either in Venezuela or in Panama. There's a lot of people, and you know, Panama, what is 4 or 5 million people population, got just probably an influx of Venezuelans fleeing their country, obviously, from their dictatorship, surviving on Bitcoin. Surviving on Bitcoin, literally surviving on Bitcoin, meaning they have no other income. I mean, what do you have? You have a currency which they have, the Bolivar, where you have your stack of money like this, and you can't even buy an egg on coffee with. Because it's worthless, it's useless. So they all mine because their energy is free. So they buy, and I mean, boy, the people, the kind of caliber of people I meet, they're importing mining machines, rigs, you know, it's like crazy because they mine, and many of them are very interested in cloud mining because, again, it's still a risk. If you can mine, it's actually even a license you can get in Venezuela to mine. But then, of course, the guy can also say, well, you know, I confiscate your mining rigs. So, but they can't confiscate cloud mining. You know, you just never know. You can mine there, but you just bear the risk that you maybe import those machines. And in Venezuela, everything is more expensive. So if you pay for a mining rig maybe $2,500, they pay $4,500 for that rig. They still import it because they're still living on it, because they have no other means. So it's a different theme if you have 30 million people starving to death. There's two decisions: or they go against the law, meaning so what, they die, or they don't eat and they die. What do? You go against the law, right? So it's pretty simple.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, people are pushed into situations, and this can be a lifeline. This technology can help a lot of people. And speaking of helping people, Paul, on Wednesday we've got a meeting with, if you guys remember, Tiana, who's on the Gold Coast there. We're going down to meet one of her team, who's he's bought a lot of contracts, but unfortunately he doesn't understand what he's bought. So we've got to go down there and explain to, I guess we'll help Tiana through that. And that's what we do. We help people understand the business they've joined, just exactly what Bill went through before, Paul. So we've got an interesting week coming up. There's probably a few more people we can talk to while I'm down there. Most people have got a good understanding because you've explained to them, correct?
Yeah, indeed. And keep them up to date each. Like Bill has his webcasts twice a week. I send out an email probably twice a week, just updating them as to what's happening in the world with Bitcoin and also with Swissquote Global. The likes of the Genesis mining information that came out the other day from different states in America. So it's a matter of keeping people up to date, and they feel a bit more relaxed then and say, oh yeah, look, this is what's happening. Just tell them, just don't keep looking at all the FUD information that's going around. If you want any information, come back and ask me, and we'll sit down and go through it. But everybody's pretty relaxed.
Yeah, exactly right, mate. You've hit the nail on the head, actually. that's the one great thing about this business, this company, Swiss Gold Global. We communicate every week. We do, Paul and I do a hangout, whether Bill and Claudia can make it or not. It's fantastic when they can. But every week we try and put the information out. Then Bill and Claudia do two a week. So there's no way, plus emails come out as well. So there's no way that you can't be kept up to date with information through this company, Swiss Gold Global. And I keep repeating, I've never ever seen it in any company where the owner and the number one person in the company is communicating so often on a weekly basis with the members of that company to keep them up to date, so it reassures them of what the company is doing, where they're going. And before we get your final thoughts, Bill, Connie's just asked a question, why are Genesis not selling any contracts? So obviously with the Swedish farm, is that going live now? Is it a possibility they'll do pre-sale of more contracts? Is there any word from them on what's going on? Maybe touch on Litecoin and Dashcoin as well, mate.
It's a good question from Connie. Can you hear me? You can hear me, okay.
All clear.
It's a great question from Connie. And primarily, Genesis Mining has 2 million members. We don't have 2 million members yet. We like to get there, but we're not there yet. You know, they opened up their door. It'd be like opening the floodgate. With no hash available whatsoever. We're very fortunate that they allow us to drip feed, and maybe even by the end of today, we may even have to reduce the size of our available Bitcoin mining contracts down to 0.2 of a terahash for a customer, and maybe 0.5 of a terahash for our affiliates, which is a gold package, would be the minimum, because there's just not the supply there at the moment. This is truly the thing. We just do not have the supply. And I gave the metaphor a long time ago. Primarily, if you're in a mining town somewhere in the outback of Australia with 20,000 people, and all of a sudden, you know, in the power stations supplying 20,000 people, all of a sudden Keithy strikes gold, and it goes from 20,000 people to 2 million people in a relatively short period of time. The power station is going to have blackouts. It's not sustainable. And that's primarily where we are with our cryptocurrency space as well, mining space. We just don't have the supply to be able to meet the demand right now. So that's why the contracts, I'm not too sure. I mean, Litecoin, we all love that, of course. The problem is it's the rig supply, GPU mining and ASIC mining. They will. I believe there is some noise of maybe some more Bitcoin becoming available from Genesis in the future, but I'm not going to put anything out there at the moment until it comes. It's got to come from them, and things move very fast. When it does go live, it disappears pretty quick because some people understand the importance to actually have it. I was just looking at the term deposit rates in America. You know, if you put $1,000 into the Bank of America in the States, you're probably going to wait nearly 100 years to get your money back on your bank account. You know, and as you saw in Australia at 3%, which sounds really great, you're still waiting 20 years. But when I was in Panama last week with Claudia, she's certainly a great networker. Why? One, she builds trust with the people. She builds a relationship with people. Number two, she listens to what they want. Number three, she trains them. There would not be one person that she signs up that people did not know what they're buying. She's transparent. So to hear that someone signed up and bought something he doesn't understand what he's bought, I could be rude there, but I won't be. I mean, we're responsible adults. You've got to understand what you buy. I mean, this is taking money out of someone's pocket. You have to understand why you're taking the money out of your wallet. I mean, that's just a no-brainer. And if someone's just telling you because you're going to make 3 times your money in the first year, I mean, really, question it. It just sounds too good to be true, even though that was the case for a period of time. But it's changing all the time. You know, we spoke about at the live event there at the Bitcoin Panama Bitcoin Embassy, blockchain embassy, I think it was. We spoke about the purpose of what we're involved in here. And here we have, you know, for many people, I met some wonderful people from Venezuela there. I mean, very successful business people that Claudia had met there, and with Paul and her team there. Of course, just great people. But it's about freedom for this. It's about survival. See, being in Australia, and even though I've traveled internationally for many years, we're not used to this stuff. We live in a pretty good comfort zone, don't we? You know, we haven't had the currency issues of other countries historically. We've had relatively a strong economy over the last decades. We've done pretty okay down under. we live a pretty good quality of life, don't we? We're free in one sense, you know. Well, many parts of the world are just not like that. If I go back to Claudia, she doesn't talk about this on these particular calls very much. She doesn't talk about it at all, really. I mean, for her, as a 15-year-old, her sister as a 16-year-old, her mother, who must have been in her mid-30s, fled communism before the Iron Curtain came down in the 1980s. She was shot at. She was arrested. She was put in prison for a month before the West realised there was a young family in prison in Eastern Europe, and they got them out of there. I mean, how many people do we know in Australia, unless you're an immigrant, maybe from Vietnam War or maybe it's more relative today from Syria or something like that, but how many people do we actually know in our own circles in Australia that have had that? We just don't know them, do we? But when you hear these stories, going back to Claudia and what she had to go through as a young girl, just to be free. I mean, just to be free, think about that. Have we ever had our freedom taken from us in Australia? I mean, the Aboriginals certainly may question that, but certainly us as European Australians, we haven't had that issue, have we, Paul and Keithy?
Not
so,
at all, no.
Yeah, we've had a pretty good quality of life. And then you hear the Venezuelans and these other people where you buy a bottle of water today and later on today, it's double the price. I mean, this is really what's happening there. So it's not about that they're mining because the electricity is free, that they're mining because they've got no alternative. It's survival. The paper currency is just, it's losing. It's gone back to the German Reich mark, where you may as well use it as toilet paper. You may as well use it as heating. You keep during winter to keep your house warm. And this is what happened. And this has happened through parts of Africa as well. It's happened throughout Asia and Eastern Europe before as well. The Aussie dollar, we've been pretty lucky that even though it's lost probably 2 or 3 times its purchasing power in the last 10 years, to be quite honest, it's lost that amount of purchasing power, but nowhere compared to some of these other currencies, like in these countries that we're speaking about.
Absolutely right. There's to finish off. Thank you very much, Bill, for your input as always. We are on a journey, and for a lot of us, it's only been the last 18 months, 2 years. Certainly, with Swiss Gold Global turning 10 now and being involved in cryptocurrency since November 2016. So you're coming up to about 18 months for your adventure fully into the industry. Just the start, folks, just the start. So whatever computer power you have, as Bill said, I just checked before, you could actually buy contracts of Bitcoin. We still have them available. Bill may restrict those later on today or tomorrow. But we have them. Genesis don't. We're their best friend, which is good. They're looking after their best friend at the moment, which is great for us. But if you do have contracts, I've been paid the last 3 days. So all of mine are active, except the difficulty rate is high, the price is low, and the fees have gone down. The Bitcoin transaction fees have gone down, which is where the Bitcoin miners get some of their earnings from. So that's coming back to us that we're receiving a little bit less, but this can all change. And I'll just quickly finish off. We'll go to coincap.io. Bitcoin's now 83.09. The last 24 hours, it's up 8.38%. So that trend just needs to continue over the coming months. Just needs to trend up slowly by 5%. Just slowly go up, hit 10, 12, 15,000, get stabilised, as Bill's always said, along with it, 15,000 and stabilise there for a while. Then that'd be great for our rewards, I believe, for all of us here at Swiss Gold Global. Great information as always. Thank you, Claudia, for staying up. It's now 1 o'clock in the morning. You better head off to sleep, Claudia, and you've got lots of work to do tomorrow, lots more people to talk to and help. Thank you very much, as always, for coming on. I hope you enjoy the rest of your week.
Thank you. I have my first team coming tomorrow at 10 a.m. here at my place for the first training, and then lots of calls and live event.
All right. Live event. Awesome. Okay, Paul. Well, look forward to catching up with you, Paul, in a couple of days' time on the Gold Coast.
Yeah, it's now 4 o'clock. It's beer o'clock time, and that's discounted prices on now. Yeah, which is really good.
Life is good in Australia. It is, yeah. And it will be better as we move along with Swiss Gold Global and the owner, Bill Rowell. As always, Bill, fantastic having you on. Thank you very much.
My pleasure, Katie. Thanks for all that you do. Paul also. And, of course, Claudia, have a great meeting there in Panama.
All right.
And thanks to all our members too. I mean, really, we would not be existing without all you people. So we really do value and appreciate your trust and support. And if there's issues, make sure you email contact@swissgoldglobal.com. Make sure it's the correct email address, and we'll get back to you. Now, sometimes when something does go wrong on the mining side, we get inundated with thousands of emails, so it does take time to get back to you. But just know that you'll be looked after eventually, and you'll get that payout. That's the most. We're not going to run away with a couple of bucks or whatever it might be from you. We're going to make sure that we honour it for you.
Yeah. Okay. Brilliant. Thank you very much, Bill. All right, folks. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you share this link on your timeline so all your team and everyone you know gets to hear the owner, Bill, tell it how it is from the man himself, live every week if we can get him on, or every second week. But he does 2 hangouts a week, which are in your back office. Just go to the event page, put in your first name, last name, your email address, and you get all the details there. So thank you, folks. We'll see you on the next one. Have a fantastic week. Take it easy. Bye-bye.